Good morning, Mandy. I'm so excited to talk to you this morning about how Lifewave can help ourselves and our precious animals.
It's my absolute pleasure to be here, Lee, and I'm so excited about sharing this technology with you because I know how fond you are of your wonderful animals. I've been to your wonderful farm, so super, super stoked to be here to chat to you today.
Awesome. Can I start off with some questions?
Yes, you can. Go for it.
So, who is Lifewave exactly?
Well, Lifewave is actually an American company. I was first introduced to the product itself probably about 6 years ago when I had a cancer client in my wellness practice in George, and she was searching for something to help herself while she was taking some of my treatments. And she came across this wonderful little, I'll show you a little patch, the one over here on the right-hand side. And she said to me, look at this, Mandy. This is amazing. It's a little bit like what you do, but we can stick it on ourselves. So I thought, okay, well, this is interesting. And I brought them in through my brother in the UK, and I started learning a little bit more around it. And what I loved the most was that it was based on light. So for me, it's an American company. They were based in Chicago. They're now based in Utah, big offices there. They're actually celebrating their 20th anniversary this year, which is amazing, which means that they've been going quite a long time. They're not a new company to the world. They
Wow.
are they are available around the world. Very new to South Africa. We'll be registered this year into South Africa, which is really really exciting news. And that's it. We've got a wonderful inventor. He's not a medical professional at all. He's an inventor, and he has actually invented this wonderful technology. I believe it's actually well ahead of its time in the marketplace to truly help both humans and, as we've just discussed, wonderful horses and animals. To really benefit from this wonderful technology.
Wow, I can't wait to hear more about it. Mandy, so as I understand, it's based on light therapy. Can you please tell me a little bit more about how exactly this technology works?
Well, you see these little patches on me here. So when you've actually taken off the back, so they come in a little sleeve. Let's just share with everyone. They come in a sleeve like that. Once you've opened it up, your little patch looks a little like that. And once you've taken off the backing, you will end up having something like that. So basically what they are, Lee, they are based on, as we said now, photo light therapy. Once they go on the human or animal, and they stick quite well. And you can place it for animals, you can place it on their hair. They don't necessarily need to shave. It's using the body's infrared heat to activate those little organic plant matter crystals in the patch, and those are only facilitating light. So it's a little bit like little mirrors. As the light comes off, the heat comes off the body, it shines on these little amino acid crystals, which then send light back into meridian pathways to support healing processes in the body. So I feel like for me as a wellness practitioner, it's such an incredible modality to use not only for animals but humans as well, because it's so natural. We know that we don't want to give our wonderful animals too much synthetic stuff. I know that horses really struggle with their health at times, and often things like cortisone, anti-inflammatories are always opted for. But this is truly a way to open up those meridian pathways to switch on the healing processes within their body system. So totally natural way for us to really tap into our healing system. And we know that our bodies, including animals, respond very well to light as far as our healing goes. So that's what it's basically based on. So no ingredients in the patch whatsoever, only light going into the body.
Wow.
So sometimes, sorry Lee, sometimes I have clients, I can see in their faces, they go, regtig, lig in my liggaam en dit gaan my pyn wegvat. So I often think, I say to them, listen, I know that it sounds really like woo-woo-woo-y and like, it's never going to be able to do anything. But when you look at that little patch and you think, what is it going to do? And then you see the results and you think, holy moly, that little patch can do that. So it really has some amazing technology in that little patch.
It's very interesting to me because we all know that our bodies should be able to heal itself. And with our lifestyles and lifestyle choices and the impacts that our bodies experience in our lifestyles, it's it just makes sense to activate whatever is naturally needed to activate that. So it does make sense.
Absolutely, Lee. Absolutely. We know that you've just said our bodies are fine-tuned machines. If we can support them with something natural that speaks to the body, so basically the patches are working like a radio and a receiver. So sometimes we just need to tune in to the right station.
That's amazing, Wendy. I can't wait to see more and to learn more. Um, what products are in the range that you would suggest or recommend to use on horses?
Well, there's a
We
few
work
in the
with horses
range.
of all
Yeah.
levels. Sorry, now
There's
I
a
was just saying we've got clients who has horses from competitive at a high level to garden ornaments, but sometimes they're rehabbing or they can't be worked anymore because of pain or underlying issues.
Absolutely. So, what can we do in the range of Lifewave patches? There's quite a few. There's 9 patches that we have in South Africa at the moment. So, the most important ones I think we can go through individually, Lee, because then I can just give people an overview of what they can do with the patches for their horses. So, we'll start off with the X39s. The X39s are our flagship product. So, this is the one that elevates what we call a GHKCU peptide. And in so doing, it's going to activate more stem cells in their bodies. So, David, profoundly, I was actually researching at one point and doing a presentation for our team where I realized that, David, I researched something about GHKCU, and apparently it's a peptide that is automatically produced in the body if we have a very big trauma. Like, say, for instance, you have a massive accident or you have an injury like with a horse, it's an automatic response. But I think David took that information and he said, okay, well, if it does that when you're traumatized, how about we can up or elevate this peptide without being traumatized on an ongoing basis to activate more stem cells, because that's what we want. And we know as horses get older, as humans get older, we don't produce or activate as many stem cells as what we need to. And in actual fact, if you look at that, it's the process of life. It's the 360. If we continued producing stem cells like we did when we were babies, we kind of wouldn't die. So in actual fact, what it is it's the process of life. And the same thing with horses. As they get older, they're not producing enough of their healing cells, so they start to decline, and then eventually they die and they go off the planet. But what David has profoundly done, and this was something that he started when he was young, Lee. He was watching a TV program with his uncle, who was also a very big inventor, and he saw something about age reversal and staying younger longer, and that's where his little seed was planted within his consciousness, and he wanted to really work on something to keep humans younger. And that's how his journey began all the way into adulthood. So I think, activating more of these healing cells keeps us healthier, full of vitality for way longer. So, if we look at humans, we have the most amazing testimonials from around the world with X39 patches. And if you look at one recent testimonial that I saw with a horse who had a growth, just using the X39 patches and glutathione patches, upping the glutathione production in the body, the growth or the little tumor just disappeared and fell off. So,
That's amazing.
so
It's
if we
incredible.
support the body, if we support the body in the right way, we are going to have the body do its processing in the correct way. So this is the X39. X39 can be generally used for horses who have got low vitality, older horses who are being rehabilitated because they've been overused, just to bring back the activity within the body system to start repairing from the inside out. And I think, Lee, what's nice is, and you probably will share this on your website when you're done, but I think the wonderful picture of that gentleman that I recently shared over the last 12 months, he literally looks like a new person. I mean, he doesn't even look like the same person. Bags underneath his eyes disappearing. So this doesn't just happen on a superficial outside. It's happening on the inside. All the wrinkles are being taken away on the inside, which automatically makes you look younger on the outside. So we can say very very definitely that you are repairing organ function, cells of the organs to make them function better and give that horse kind of a second chance. So I also want to say though, because people think it's a quick fix, when we are activating peptides in a human body or an animal, it does take time. Remembering that horses are so much bigger than we are sometimes, and also they're so much bigger than dogs. Now we get such amazing results with dogs very quickly, and you've got an amazing testimonial you're going to share just now with us. But remembering the size. So when you're dealing with a smaller animal, the response is going to be so much quicker. If you're dealing with a big animal like a horse, you're going to have to give it a little bit of time. And I always say the best time frame is always 3 months. Give the patches 3 months, because generally our livers and that of animals needs to really fully repair itself so that it's filtering what it needs to, so that the real vitality and wellness can start happening after that. So, if you are looking at this technology, don't look at it as a quick fix. Sometimes we have the most amazing response, because remembering also that the X39 brings down inflammation. It will help with detoxification, and it will also help with pain very significantly. I mean, we've used this for painful knees and joints very successfully with humans and animals for that matter. In fact, Vogie gets a X39 and X49 on her knee every now and again. And in fact, I'm going to share with you that Vogie was really struggling with her little knee. I don't know if it was just a weak joint. I don't know if it was a bit of arthritis, but she was really struggling to hop on the couch and off. But she doesn't want you to pick her up. She wants to climb up on her own. And just the other day, after really using, I think she's had patches for almost, I'd say about a year. I've just been patching her with my seconds, or, I'll put a new patch on and I'll leave it on for 3 days. And this morning, she jumped off on our bed 5 times. Now, she hasn't done that for a very long time, and she won't do that unless she has no pain or no discomfort. If they have any discomfort, they won't do that. She was
No.
hopping down, hopping up, hopping. So she obviously felt very good, lots of vitality. Her knee wasn't sore, and she felt like she could do it. She had the strength. So this is the potential to truly help animals without all the synthetic, obvious solutions that they are given at times, because there's no other option. So I would like for them to hear, because Lee's just shared with me before we hopped on her amazing testimonial.
So Luna is 11 years old. She's been struggling with cancer for this is her 6th year. But her biggest challenge is her physical ability, or how she struggles. So for the last year, every time I thought this is the end, we can't go any further, then she'll have a good day and she'll have a bad day, or she'll have 3 bad days and 1 good day. She's since December, since the physio closed for the holidays, she was really struggling, and to the point where in December and January, we had to help her literally hold herself when she wanted to go to the loo. Other than that, her spirits are very high. So she wants to live, she wants to play. Every evening when it's not hot, she wants to play. But her challenges were going to the loo, walking around, and also she couldn't get up when she was lying down. And when she goes and lies down, she would fall down because she can't hold herself in a brace to not, to sit first and then lie down. So I literally started using the X39 about 2 weeks ago. I think we've only done 4 patches in the last 2 weeks. And since last week, I've actually got it on video. She's been going outside in the mornings by herself. I don't have to help her out and go and walk with her. She does her business, number one, and two, holding herself perfectly. She's getting up by herself. She's trying to jump on the couches, which she hasn't done in 2 months. So I just help her and facilitate. I don't want her to get hurt, but she's literally getting herself up, which is amazing. She's deciding where to lie down. Her body doesn't just give up under and she falls flat. And the main thing for me is the fact that she can go to the bathroom without anyone helping her, or without me having to look for her and see if she's still on all 4 legs. It's been a massive, 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 massive change in her, just drastically. Also, the walkies that we take 3 times a day used to be just around the house. She didn't feel like going to the end of the yard, and the last week we've been walking around the yard again. So I can see her whole demeanor, everything, a zest for life is better. She's not as she's not in pain as she normally is, and she chooses to get up and go, and she wants to be on guard, where she normally do through the day would just lie down, and when it's school at night, she will want to go out, but then we only allow her like once or twice and play a little bit. But I'm really surprised at her energy level and her ease of movement, which wasn't possible before we started the patches. I could actually see the difference in her walk with her wearing her first patch till on the third day. I definitely saw a different walk. I couldn't. Her nails weren't dragging on the floor. Her back nails weren't dragging on the. She was literally stepping on all four legs. So that was instantly something that I've never ever experienced anything like that, unless it's major pain medication, And this is all
Wow.
natural, it's not doing anything harmful to her. She's got spondylosis as well, so I put the patch there on the back of almost what is a steaky in Engels, where the
Coccyx. Coccyx.
yes, I put it there, and I can see it's major. Sorry, I'm looking down because she's actually lying underneath my
Oh, bless her,
desk
bless her. Yeah,
now.
well, that's amazingly, yet again, the proof is, I always say the proof is in the pudding, and when you can see it for yourself, it is wow. We often go, yes, a little patch, is it going to do? I mean, that's incredible, and it's only giving the body light. And then you had an accident too with your hand.
Yes. So a year and it's about 18 months ago or 13 months ago, I had an accident where my horse just lightly stepped on me, and it was a clean break in my radius. But I've got issues since then with feeling in my fingers. We did carpal tunnel surgery as well. I don't have lots of feeling back from that, but I started using the patches now 2 weeks ago. And the one difference I can feel is that my joints are still stiff, which I think will become better with more time. But I'm not aware of my hand the whole time, where I'm normally, um, I'm actually just managing my pain normally. I'm always aware of my hand, you know. And I'm noticing since I've been wearing it, which isn't a long time, that I'm just not as protective of my hand, and I'm sticking it out more to use it. Where I normally, because of the pain, won't decide to use it, So I'm holding it back a little bit. And my pain is definitely less. And my recovery is also better when I do my exercises the next day. My knuckles aren't as sore as they were before I wore the patches. And trust me, I've been through homeopathic, natural, and Western medicine for the last year. I've tried a lot of things. But when I take my patch off, even if it's for 12 hours, I need to put it back because I can definitely feel the difference. Definitely.
Well, I think we have to share with people as well, though, that, many people will say to me, Mandy, how long do you have to wear the patches? So we never know. We never know what is wrong in an animal or a human for that matter. And we don't know what needs to be fixed. So I always say wear the patches or place the patches on the animal until you see symptoms like with your doggy, she becomes so much better, and in the human as well. So, many people have got arthritis, for instance. I'll speak more about that for animals as well, and what you should be using. So, use the patches until symptoms disappear. And then after that, you could always go on a maintenance for a little while to support the body. But many people always say to me, well, Mandy, if I use the patches and I stop in the future, will it revert back to how it was? No. Because if you are actively activating your healing cells on an ongoing basis and the repair is there, it will stay there. So this is the difference. When you are using a plaster and you're putting it and you're not actually supporting the body's own functionality, but you are, giving the body something to function better. When you remove it, the body doesn't do it on its own. And that's the difference with Lifewave. So I want to add, Lee, with the next patches that I'm going to do, which is the Eon patch. The Eon patches are quite an incredible patch all on its own, because this patch was one of Lifewave's bestseller before the X39 came around. The X39 has only been around for the last, I would say, 5 years. And Eon patches are all around stress and inflammation. Now, there's a very interesting peptide that is, well, it's elevated in your own body when you're using the Eon patches. And the Eon patch actually elevates what we call an acetinoplastone peptide. Now, if you go and look at acetinoplastones, you'll see that it's used for cancer treatment, and David will not speak about it on an open platform because he doesn't want it to be associated with treatment for cancer. However, when you look at why people get that or why animals get that, you'll see that most of the time they've been through a large amount of stress and trauma. And what we do is we activate it in our bodies. Now, if you're using Eon patches and you're elevating this peptide, you're almost stumping that progress. If you know what I mean, you're stopping that progress because we only produce acetinoplastones when we are in a state of calm. So once your body goes into a state of calm, and this is the wonderful benefit of Eon patches, is it keeps the nervous system in a state of calm. In particular, we've used it on your horse in the stable that was exceptionally skittish at the time, and just wanted to kick the poles off the stable to get out. And lo and behold, 15 minutes when we came later, he was like spin and he was just relaxed. So especially for horse lovers who want to get their horses in the horse box and they don't want to go in because they don't like traveling, this is a great one to place on the forehead. And within about 15 minutes, you'll be able to take your horse into the horse box without too much effort because it will have calmed the nervous system and even help them enjoy the ride a little bit more without feeling so scared and skittish. So very important too, what I would like to share is, you've got a lot of kiddies that are competing and also very stressed for that matter. So this is a great one, not only for the animal itself, but also for the human, to make sure that they are calm and feeling like, that they're not completely out of their little skins when they are competing, because it is very, very scary and very, they're unsure of themselves when they start out. So you can use this for the animal and you can use it for the human as well. So those Eon patches can be used on an area of inflammation. You would have to know if there was inflammation, like there was heat. Probably, having a vet or someone who was, working on the horse will be able to tell you this. I always say to people when I'm working with humans, I always say, is it hot? Is the joint area hot? Or is it cold? Because generally, if it's cold, you would be using glutathione patches because you need to detox the toxins in that joint. And if it's warm, you know that it's inflammation, and then you can use your Eon patches. So it isn't an exact science. You do need to know what is happening in that area so that we can support that area correctly with the right patches. What I would like to say quickly before we go on to the next one is I'd like to talk a little bit more about, they all look very the same. So how do we know how can these patches tell the body to do something different? Well, there is a different pattern on each patch that is going to send different wavelengths of light into the body. And that's how the body knows to respond differently to each of them. So the X39 have got a very specific pattern, which tells the body to elevate a GHKCU. The Eon patches have a very different pattern that tells the body to elevate acetinoplastones. Also, I want to share with you, as far as fertility goes and longevity, the Eon patches are incredible. They're actually linked to the benefits of royal jelly. So as the queen bee is fed this very specific food in the hive, she becomes much fatter. She produces much more of the eggs that are required. This is because they feed her this peptide. And this
Oh,
peptide actually extends her lifespan and also helps her stay fertile. Because why? The stress is down, which means the fertility just happens all on its own. So very, very interesting patches, Eon patches. And if you actually link them up with X39, quite a powerful combination within the body system.
sure.
So we're going to talk a little bit more around Icewave. So I'm very sure that you will share your video, Lee, going forward with the video that we created for you. We went and patched some of Lee's horses at the farm. And this is one of the patches this was actually the second patches in the range of patches that David produced some very many years ago, over 18 years ago. And these patches open the pathway for pain relief. Now, this is a patch that I use often when I do events because I know 99.9% I will get pain relief almost instantly within 15 minutes. Now, John Chance, who is a wonderful gentleman, I had a chance to actually chat to him, but he is so Texan and he's got such a brash American accent that it was quite hard to actually understand him at the time. But he was working with the rodeo horses, and for over 18 years, he started out with Lifewave in the very beginning with them, and he patches a rodeo horse like a crazy person. Within about 5 or 10 minutes, he can take away pain throughout the body. So, yet again, horses will, Lee, they either are in pain, they either are not stressed or they are stressed. We actually worked with Lee's horse. I can't remember what horse it was at the time, but you will remember. And I know that you were always referring to the horse saying it was always looking around, trying to, defend itself against what was coming, and when we placed the patches on, you can let them know.
So that was Force, my saddlebred. He is always a very alert horse, and he's always looking around. He's not anxious or nervous anymore, but that day we specifically brought him in by himself, and there was no other horses in the stables, and that does tend to make him a bit stressed, especially when the wind was blowing like it was that day. He's normally fine if me and him of ourselves, but because there was more going on, I think we were a couple of people, they didn't know what to expect, and he was snorting a bit and looking around for where his friends were. And I remember we had a young physiotherapist there that also confirmed for us where his pain issues was, which I could feel when I was riding him. He's very tight over his top line. And she confirmed that there was a couple of places where he was sore, and I actually tested with his carrot stretches that he was very stiff and he couldn't get his head to bend past his shoulder when he turned in. And I remember 15 minutes, or I can't remember exactly the time, but it was a couple of minutes in. I can't remember if it was 10 or 20 minutes in. We definitely saw a huge shift to where it looked almost like a different horse. It was really massive for him, for him to drop his head and just to have soft eyes with the same environment and no other horses there and the wind still blowing. That was hugely impactful for me. I've never seen that instantly, even with all the horsemanship that we've done and all the things that we've done. His personality is just always alert. He's the one that in the herd will look out for everyone and want to protect everyone. But it definitely made a huge impact on me that day, because I felt how he relaxed and how he wasn't bracing himself. He just literally let down. That was really incredible.
No, absolutely. Okay, the other one I want to share quickly a little bit about is glutathione patches. So this is a really good one for detoxification and immune support. I know that a lot of horses struggle with immune issues and also gut-related issues. And this is a great one because it's a master antioxidant, even for us as humans as well as for animals. This is a great one to use. I know that we're using it with a horse with colic at the moment. And we've basically put it on the stomach area, and we've used carnosine on the lung area, and the horse is actually doing really well. So, this yet again, supporting the horse in the right way, supporting the body in the right way. So any kind of bone-related issues, joint-related issues, this is a really amazing patch. Now, if you have any joint-related issues, depending on if there is heat, if there is warmth, then we have to use X39 and we use the Eon patches. Now, for any kind of knee-related issues for humans, especially joint-related issues, these are two patches that I use for my clients very often. I've helped so many people not opt to have a knee replacement because of our wonderful patches.
Wow.
And a hip issue, for instance, is more toxicity related in humans. Not quite sure what it would be associated with in horses. Don't really know too much about horses. But if it is hip related and a sore joint being the biggest joint in the horse as well, then glutathione patches could be an option to try between glutathione and X39, because remembering that you are going to be replacing cartilage if you wear glutathione patches for long enough. This is quite amazing as well. So there's another patch that I would like to quickly share, and that is the energy enhancers. If you find that your horse, for instance, today, my son and myself are going to do a detox stress protocol where we've actually placed our patches here at this point, and we've placed another set of patches underneath our feet on our kidney meridian. Now, I can tell you, Lee, I only patched about an hour ago, and I can tell you already I'm feeling some very interesting things happening in my body. Now, you know me, I work as hard as you do. I think you work harder than me with those wonderful horses. But I push myself really a lot in my business. And there's definitely a change in my system. I'm not feeling so rattled and so wound up, which is very interesting because that's a norm for me. That is something that I've got used to because it's just the way that I am. So, energy enhancers are a great patch to revise the energy in a system. So sometimes we find that the energy in a system is being used incorrectly. And this is why we feel depleted of our energy. So it can happen with horses as well. Maybe what it's been through is quite traumatic, or it's got a lot of toxins in the body, and the body is not reverting its energy correctly. So the horse feels lethargic and it doesn't feel energized. Whereas what energy enhancers do, they actually make you get stronger, and they also help you become more flexible. So these are the
Wow.
patches for golfers. You will see that if you're using the patches, you'll twist like this and you'll see you can't go far back. But if you put the patches on, you can put about 20% more. So it's going to give horses flexibility. It's going to give them strength. In fact, there's a wonderful video that you can show where this guy is actually trying to push another guy who is quite much bigger than him, and he can't push him. But he takes the energy enhancers and he puts them on his positive sides and the person's negative side, and he pushes the guy right over, which means it's made him stronger. So it's
Wow.
an interesting patch. For people that are in the gym and want to actually get more gains, they can use these energy enhancers to push more weights, but with less effort. So the same thing can happen with horses. If they are training, give them more energy so that they can do better and they'll become better. So this is a really interesting patch. It also makes you sleep better. So people don't realize if you are exhausted, you will not sleep at night. You need energy to switch on the mechanisms for daytime activity, and then it needs energy to switch on the nighttime mechanisms to help you sleep. So people who have got insomnia are just completely depleted of energy. So this will actually help you really have a good night's rest as well. So that's a few little added facts to help people who are wanting to encourage more stamina within their horses, more energy within their horses. If the horse is really like depleted of energy, and very often when they are competing and they are being worked a lot, of course, it's like a human. You are going to be depleted of your energy if you're not helped or you're not given time in between to recover. And it's really important to do that. So I just want to make sure that I've been through all the patches so far. I think I have. So another two patches I will share. I don't know if I wanted to make sure that do horses have hypothalamuses? I think I did actually check that with you.
No, we checked it the other day. They did.
Yeah. So SP6s are a great one to balance well, it actually increases activity of hypothalamus, and this will help balance the endocrine and also the hormones. So it's a hormone balancer, which is, David doesn't speak much about this patch, but it's truly, truly an incredible patch to balance hormones. So if there is issues with horses' hormones, this could be a patch that they could definitely try. The other patch that I know that horses will absolutely love and use is carnosine. Horses generally get up to mischief and injure themselves some which way or form, either nick themselves on a fence in the field or get bitten by another horse. So carnosine are your go-to for any kind of wound. I also think that it's one of the best patches to use with laminitis. Is that the hoof? Am I right in saying that's the hoof issue, right, Lee?
Yes.
Okay, so these two patches, and I would actually suggest an antioxidant as well, the glutathione, because I know that generally they get it's really a bad infection that can happen within the hoof itself. So these ones are great patches for you to use for any kind of wound, open wound, a wound that isn't healing. In fact, Lee, we had a gentleman in Namibia who had a sarcoma, and it took up about that size on his ankle. You could actually see the bone. And they couldn't close the wound in a year. The hospital had been trying everything, and they were going to amputate his leg. Paul is still walking around without crutches, and they haven't amputated his leg. And that was simply just carnosine and X39 patches together. So if you
Wow.
do have a horse that is really struggling with a wound, I want to share quickly that we've got a lovely lady, Louisa, who has a Great Dane sanctuary in Krugersdorp. And she's, rescues these Great Danes, and generally they come into an environment where they don't know one another. They're big dogs and they fight. And she often just literally, I mean, I was flabbergasted the way she deals with the dog. She says, well, this is what we do. We don't faff with them. She says, if they bite one another, we make sure that it's clean. We patch them with carnosine and X39, and we strap them up. And within a little bit of time, the wound is closed, it's healing, it's got a scab, and voila, daar gaat hulle weer. So, a trip to the vet is excessive when you've got something like carnosine, which works so quickly. And what is very important, what I want to share, is that she had a dog that had a really bad nip on his eye, and it really became very infected and swollen and sore. And she just put on a carnosine and an X39, and she said, you won't believe the infection that came out. It just oozed out on its own. It then produced a scab, and it closed up and it healed on its own. So, yet again, when the body is being given something or being spoken to and saying, listen, there's an issue here, elevate this antioxidant or whatever it is in the body to fix it and just supports that process, well, it's just amazing. So the last patch in our range is X49. This is a new patch that was only launched the beginning of last year. This is a patch that increases stamina and performance. In horses, I believe it's going to be really powerful. So what it does is it works on lean muscle, and it also works on bones. Very, very beneficial for bones. They did a recent study with clinical research with a few women who had osteoarthritis, and they saw that it actually stopped the degeneration of bone. So there's two things that I used with little Bogey's knee. I used X39 and X49. Now, I used X39 for a while, Lee, and I just didn't get improvement. I just thought, what is wrong? Are the patches not working? This doesn't make sense to me. But very interestingly, we changed the radio station and we put on the X49, and the body said, that's what I needed. I needed more AHKCU, and a little knee is absolutely fine. So yet again,
Wow.
it's not an exact science. I always say to people, start with the X39, because that's our flagship product. That's the one that's going to activate more stem cells, activate more healing cells, and that's going to really start supporting that animal's vitality and wellness and healing responses within the body. Make sure that you're staying on it for a while. Make sure that the symptoms are eventually dissipating, and then you can slowly wean the horse off the patches if you don't want to continue using the patches for the horse. So I think that gives everyone a real overview of these wonderful patches, the technology, and just how amazing we can use them to really support horses, well-being and vitality them in the most natural way. We don't want to give them all of the, external, synthetic stuff that they are sometimes given, just because there is no other solution. There is a solution. I mean, as I say, it's been used all over the world, in particular, as we know, with John Chance to be using it with his horses very effectively, going forward. So, yeah, we just want to welcome it into South Africa and allow other people to really start using this technology, and not only for the horse, but also for themselves.
Thank you so much, Mandy. I think this was, you see, it's mind blowing information, actually. What stands out for me is I don't know any horse owner that wouldn't want to be a little bit more independent treating their horse. You always need outside, you always need your farrier or your chiro or your vet or someone to come and do this and someone to come and do that, and chemicals and supplements and changes. I think it's way overdue that people can have the power in their hands to help their horses or themselves themselves, you know. I'm really
Absolutely. I agree. I've listened to very many people that we've helped with horses, a vet bull, coming out to check a horse if a horse is sick. And, if you see the telltale signs early, we really can support the horse. I do want to say, though, if horses are sick, they do need a vet
of
assistance.
course.
They
No,
are
of course.
too big. Yeah, they're too big. We have tried to help horses without, and it has not worked. You do need to have that extra. If the horse does need to go on some medication, absolutely put the horse on medication. But
Yeah.
if you catch it quick enough and if you patch them quick enough, they definitely respond really well. Specifically if they've got an infection, if they are sick, if you patch them with glutathione and X39 as soon as possible. And I'm almost inclined to say, Lee, don't take those patches off, because look, we also want to remember this very, very important fact. You want to be in the first, if the horse has got an acute issue, I always say wear the patches for 24 hours in the beginning, but then you want to go back to 12 hours on, remove the patch, and then replace a new patch the next day. And I'll tell you why. If you are working with animals, yes, we can, like your doggies had a patch on for 3 days, and I sometimes leave it with Vogie as well, the same thing. But if you're dealing with a health issue that is quite acute at the time, you do need to make sure that the body doesn't get used to the light. If the body gets used to the light, it won't respond anymore. So for the first 5 days, I always say, even for humans, use it for 24 hours, just help the body switch on all the healing processes. But whilst the animal is sick, I always say, use it for 12 hours on, take it off, and then reapply the new patch the next day. Make sure that you're doing this in the day and not at night. Always look at, always be near the animal and see the response. One of the other things I want to share quickly before I hop off, Lee, is that just as animals, as humans, should I say, animals will get a healing crisis as well. They'll get a massive headache. They could get a runny tummy. They could come out in a rash. And this is all a healing crisis. So we don't want the animal to go through that. So definitely, being near the animal when you're patching to make sure that the animal isn't having any adverse reaction, making sure that the animal has got lots of water, because the patches make you quite thirsty. That's very important to keep well hydrated. So there are a few things that you need to keep, in mind when you are working with the animals, with the horses. That little patch, as I said in the beginning, looks like it does nothing, but it holds quite a punch, and it can create things happening just a little bit too much, too quickly in animals sometimes, and we just have to monitor it. So if that happens, what do? We take off the patch, we let the body reset a little bit, we let the animal just continue drinking water and just, get its equilibrium back, and then we start patching again. And then we see how the body is, and we're just allowing the body to get used to the technology. And after that, you'll see that the body will respond well, and then you can start wearing it, for 12 hours and then removing it and put it on again. Can we leave the patches on for longer periods of time in maintenance? Absolutely. For a horse, I would say that you can use the X39 patches, leave it on the animal twice a week. For animals, you can leave it on slightly longer for 3 days, just to keep it more cost effective for people who are using it. But if they are sick, you do need to put on a new patch every day. This is what's going to help that animal recuperate much better.
You see, Mandy, that's a lot of food for thought. Can we get back to you with more questions as we move along?
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
into
And I think it's beneficial, because I think a lot of people will want to know a little bit more around, where do they start? How do they work through this process? What must they look for? Which I think is important, because animals can't talk to us. And we need to
Yes.
be a bit more vigilant when we're working with animals.
Thank you so much for all this information, Mandy. We are truly grateful, and I can't wait to get started on more of your patches.
Fantastic. I can't wait either. And I can't wait to get some of the feedback and some of the wonderful testimonials we're going to get around the horsey community, with their wonderful horses being full of vitality, lots of wellness at its optimum. And I can't wait for that either. Thanks, Lee.
Thank you so much, Mandy. Have a good day.
Bye.
Bye.